It was evening, and the air felt still, with a soft breeze, and the surface of the water reminded me of that glass they put in bathroom windows. It felt like late summer swell, with the air charged, and you just know there's a glassy chest-high wave somewhere close by. I realized that the things that I wanted out of the boat in that moment were all very simple. I saw something playing about the surface, and I wanted to get higher so I could see what it was. Half the reason I longed for new rigging was to install my ratlins. I looked around and I noticed a sailboat on the horizon, finding just enough wind to fill their sails. I remembered that my favorite binoculars weren't even on the boat. It occurred to me that life was perfectly on schedule. All the years prior, living all over the world, having the experiences I've had, they'd all led to this point in time, and suddenly I made sense. The boat felt like a vessel for the first time, and there's a difference. A boat is just a thing you have. A vessel is a means to adventure. It's a world of its own, but one that can move around under its own power and have many experiences in many places, just like people can. Whole lives can be created and lived within a vessel. I felt I was meeting this vessel for the first time, right then. And she'd already lived a life of adventure on her own, and I was just here to join her. She has a name on her hips. But when one owner and one vessel collide into a collaborative life together, that venture shall be given a name. She's a Tayana 37, built in 1976. She's from Taiwan, and she reads Mahealani on her hips. But I shall call her Sable. We need a bath today? We do need a bath today. I'm just gonna swaddle with the thin because I know it's hot, but because you've been laying on the one side so long that you are getting blood clots and blue. We gotta switch. We gotta go to the other side. We gotta keep you flapping and moving. You look magnificent. Majestic bird. There. You hungry? You want breakfast? Here we go. To live in a mooring field, you have to be alright with the mundane requirements of it all. It's a lot of extra work to be considered a simpler life. Forgetting the smallest detail can be detrimental. You have to have attention to detail. For drinking water, I motored ashore, then walked half a mile to the gas station where gallons of water cost almost $4 each. Between Garrison and I, we usually ration a half gallon per day. Eating on the boat in the middle of summer is hard. The inverter's massive and it draws a lot of power. So to run the fridge all day in the summer heat eats up the power that I make using a single 250-watt bifacial solar panel, which charges my lifetime lithium phosphate battery. I truly need one more panel to be comfortable. A life of crackers and jerky leaves much to be desired, even though I love the jerky. Laundry is done at the marina at the price of $2 per load to wash, and another $2 to dry, which wouldn't be so bad if the machines worked better. I can usually slip in a shower while the clothes are in the dryer. The showers do have hot water, but the whole room gets wet and usually stays that way for the next person. And I make it a point to wear old shoes so that I don't have to walk on the floor in there. I'm not really sure what the risk actually is, but I'm also not trying to find out. When the clothes are done, I'm back to the boat, as there's always a lot to do. The motor's been giving me a lot of trouble and usually takes several minutes to get started. It's just had a full service done on it, but it's acting less reliable than ever. I need a bigger motor for the new AB inflatable anyway, so I hope that a new outboard is in the cards. The old dinghy is completely falling apart again, and it fills with water each time I use it. I'm convinced that one day I'm just going to be going along and the whole thing is just going to spontaneously combust. At least the water is pretty shallow for the most of the 1.5 miles out to the boat, and I've literally made a living off my swimming skills, so if I have nothing else going for me, I have that. Much of life on the boat is spent either maintaining the boat or doing everyday jobs around the boat that you would in a house, only everything has a few extra steps on a boat. Laundry isn't in the laundry room. Drinking water isn't on tap. Power is rationed, just as provisions are. I even wear the same clothes a couple of times until they're truly dirty before I wash them. When I can, I use the battery to charge my phone and the fan and the smaller things that I use on the boat. If I need to run the internet, charge the computer, or charge a lot of things at once, I turn on the inverter and I use the outlets in the boat. But it's smartest to make sure that there's some sunshine on the way before I drain the battery down too much. I like to keep the battery over 75% even on my busiest work days where I'm using the Starlink all day, which has been wonderful, by the way. I spotted a single red carpet beetle on the boat, probably a remnant from the Winn-Dixie pasta fiasco in Fort Lauderdale, so I'm checking all of the food again. Garrison, my rescue pigeon that I found in the water by the dinghy dock, is still kicking. He's done 2 rounds of antibiotics, the first one weakening his system, causing many of his larger feathers to become brittle and break off. He's now on one of the best probiotic and vitamin supplements that they make for pigeons, and we're growing stronger every day. I know the feathers will grow back, and I hope that one day he'll walk again. Until then, I encourage him to move and crawl around, keeping his body and legs strong. Storms on the boat aren't usually a good time for listening to the rain fall and reading a book. A good blow means that any messes on deck need to be cleaned up right then so things don't blow around or fly off the boat. Canvas covers should be tightened down or zipped up. All of the hatches and port lights should be battened down, and if the rain is going to last for a while without wind, I'll often put the canvas covers on them to slow down the leaking. With an original 1976 teak deck on the boat, I like to monitor the leaks on the interior with a towel just to make sure that nothing gets too wet, and also so I know the worst spots on the deck that I'll need to patch. It's about to get hot in here. By the evening, the people of the mooring field start getting back to their boats and their tenders. It often feels like a race to beat the sunset, as so many people don't have the proper lights or safety gear on their boats, and running out after dark runs the risk of getting spotted by FWC, who loves to lurk around the mooring field waiting for just that. As the sun falls behind the clouds, the cruisers have their sundowners, the locals have their smoke, and we all climb into our vessels, each one its own little world. Each one with its inception from designer to yard, each with its own story, its own adventures, its own relationships with past owners, its own future, and its own sad fate. Many vessels will die here, tied to the bottom, never to sail again, while others are just getting ready for their next great expedition, perhaps to a place they've never been.